Hey, right, this is my continuation of my response to Johnny's video. I'm dividing it into parts apparently because I got disturbed last time. Sorry about that. That was an abrupt ending. But we will do it in 3 parts instead. I'm still doing the Johnny thing and showing you guys different tanks while I talk. So what Johnny's video was about tournament prep and going to new tournaments. So it was advice for new tournament players. Mine is maybe an upgrade from that. So I'm not advising new tournament players because I've already done that. And Johnny's advice, I recognized a lot of what he and I talked about when he came over here and played games against me and my team. There was a lot of the things that we were discussing that he actually used in his video, which was cool to see. And his advice video, perfect. New players, go and watch that one. This is for middling players who want to become better. So, in homage to Johnny, Johnny, this is for you. I'm going to fiddle around with tanks. This is my Stackhound armored car. Right, so today I'm going to talk about mindset, which is one of the most difficult things I think to talk about because it's really not easy and it's not something that you can... maybe it's not even something that you can change about yourself. The mindset of going to a tournament and figuring out how to have the right mindset to win games, to win tournaments. I've had people say to me that I'm a different person when I'm in a game room, when I'm at a tournament. And perhaps that's true. I'm not actually sure because I can't look at myself and see what I'm like in that situation. But I've had people say to me that I'm different, that I change, that I go sharp. Thank you, Torben, by the way, for that expression. And I think there's something to that. If you want to move beyond just being a middling player, you have to be looking at bold action as if it was not just an opportunity to socialize, which it is. It's not just an opportunity to nerd out about World War II, which it is, but you have to look at it as a game. Not as something where you're there to smash your opponent's face, but you are there to play the best possible game out of respect for yourself and for your opponent. It's like great people in other sports, basically. I know it's not a sport, but, chess is supposedly a sport anyway, right? I consider bold action and other tabletop games to be a sport. You can play it like a sport. And as such, you should retain the mentality of good sportsmen. Good sportsmen respect their opponent. They elevate the game. Some of the best games I've had are against some of the top players in the world where we don't even need to have the same language anymore because we are speaking in our actions. We're speaking in bold action. Bold action becomes the language that we are communicating with. And it's such an out-of-body experience to have that. And that, for me, is where it really kicks off. So how do you get to that point? I'm not actually sure, but I think one of the most important things is to remember that this is a game. It is a game. It's not you recreating World War II. It is not your homage to the Battle of the Bulge or whatever. It is a game and you're playing it as a game. So regard it as any other game. As I don't know if you watch handball. We do here in Denmark quite a lot. It's the same with soccer or American football. Any other game. You will respect your opponent, but you will try to figure out how to defeat him. That is the mentality I see from a lot of the good players, right? The really top players. They're not there to smash face. They are not there to defeat and humiliate their opponents, but they are there to play the best game that they can because that is also respectful behavior to your opponent. So I think a lot of the mindset is there. Now, how do you... sorry, we already talked about how to get there. right? Jonny made a comment about remember to drink, which, by the way, cheers, rum and coke. YouTube, censors. I'm not promoting alcoholism. Anyway, he made a comment about snacking and drinking. For me, it's not about the snacks and the drinks, although they do help and they are a part of it. Even sometimes alcohol. It is about being the best version of yourself at that game table. The absolute best version of yourself. The best you that you can be. Now, how do you get to that point? It's different from person to person. You definitely need to be hydrated. You need to have energy. For me, personally, I need to be in shape as well. I need to be, I run and do other stuff as well, right? So I need to have done that. Sometimes I even bring my running gear to tournaments and I go for runs in the morning. That happens. So being the best version of yourself, it also means, for me at least, going to bed early and not socializing so much that I get drunk and I get hungover, because that will not be the best version of myself the next day. Now, I know a lot of players do that. It's a thing. It happens in tournaments where because these are your frenemies, right? They are your friends who are your enemies as well. They are the people that you hang out with, that we share this wonderful hobby with. Of course you want to socialize. Of course you want to go out to a bar and drink and have fun. Yes, of course you do that. For me, though, if I want to win, I stop myself before it gets too, yeah. And I do that because I go there to win. I do that so that I am the best version of myself, even on day 2 of that weekend tournament. My Stuart lost its turret. It is pretty banged up. A lot of game time in version 2, the Stuart. It also means, as Jonny said, don't get emotional about this. It is just a game. I think the emotional bit is maybe like a good summary of what Jonny said. He said something about not getting upset about losing, or I think for me, emotional is the covering word. I try to distance my emotions. You can see players sometimes that, shout and throw their arms and argue, and those players are not nice to play a game with. A good player will know that this is a game. Don't get emotional. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. So don't get angry. Don't get overly glad as well. For me, I try a lot to be happy when my opponent is doing well. I congratulate him when he's doing well. Yes, you hit my tank. You blew it up. Oh my God, that's amazing. Congratulations. And when I do something that hurt him, I sometimes even apologize. I'm sorry. I know this is going to maybe be bad for you, but I have to do this, right? So that's the way I handle that. I'm not getting emotional. I am trying not to get my opponent emotional either. Or at least if it's emotional, then only happy thoughts, right? I think that makes me a better opponent. It makes me also a nicer opponent in some respects. So, yeah. Also, Jonny made comments about making friends and socializing, which I think is absolutely true. You should do that. But for most mid-level to high-level players, we already do that. We know a lot of people. And especially, like, if I go to a tournament, a lot of people know me from this place, right? I'm sitting here in my own game room and I'm talking to you guys. I can't even see you. But a lot of people will know my face. So people will come up to me and talk to me, and I'm not sure who they are. And there's a flip side to that, by the way, because some people will come up to me and be scared of me if they have been matched against me. experienced that a lot with people just becoming extremely nervous because they know me from this channel. This, by the way, awesome. Crusader AA. Thank you so much, Alistair, for getting this into my life. Just an awesome tank. Right. Jonny also mentioned that you should ask your opponent. And that was one of the main things that he and I did when he came over and with JP and we played games, is we talked so much about those games, because that is how you learn. And you learn the best from your opponent. Don't take their advice, as Jonny said, but listen to them, because sometimes they have some really good insights. And you do that not just as a beginning player, you do that as a regular player, and you do that as a veteran player. I still do that. It is the only way I don't get beaten every single game by somebody coming to get my scalp. That is because I get together with good people. I play games against really good players, and I tell them, go at me hard. Take your worst list and just go at me. And then tell me what I did wrong. That is the way that I improve. That is it. And we go over the games afterwards. Go and watch my games against Jonathan Martin here. I had a game against him, and afterwards we did a debrief. At tournaments, if you have the time, do that with your opponent every single time. What do you think decided this game? And remember to never, ever, ever blame the dice. I know that sometimes dice decide the game, although I would argue that it's rare. A lot rarer than people say anyway. But don't blame the dice, because you can't influence the dice, right? You don't get to pick all your tactics. They are worth nothing for the dice. So choose to focus on the things that you can influence. That is my advice for that. When you talk to your opponent, when you discuss what could have been done differently, what could go the other way around in this game, don't talk about dice. Talk about tactics and decisions that you chose. Right. That, I think, was it for today. I'll do a third video responding to Scholar Progenium, and maybe at some point Jonny and me will get around to doing another collab. I think we should, on advice for people. Right. That's it. See you next time. Cheers.